let's have a look anyway with what we've got set up here. If I just press play, and you can see it's in sort of glorious disco vision. We've got these material IDs, and as you can see, they're randomly changing over time. So now that we've seen the three main types of animated materials that we can use animated bitmaps, animated age maps, and multi-sub-object materials, and we can animate the IDs on those. Let's have a look at these parameters in a little bit more detail and see what each one of them does. Obviously, the first option, as with the material static operator, was to assign a material. And if you're assigning a material, then you need to have this tick box turned on for it to be assigned. If you're assigning just material IDs, then you can turn that off to get rid of that option. Here you have the pick box, and you can see at the moment I've picked and I'm using this multi-sub-object material. Obviously, in the other operators that I've set up to demonstrate stuff here, we've got different materials picked in this window. The next option we have is do we want to assign a material ID, and when this is on, the operator will assign an individual material ID to each particle as it enters the event. This number is assigned in a logical order, i.e. first particle in is assigned ID 1, second particle in ID 2, and so on. This option does not produce any noticeable differences unless a multi-object material is used, so it's generally best left active, really. When this is actually active, you can click on Show in Viewport, and that will actually show that choice in action. So let's have a quick look at this down here. You've got Assign Material ID turned on, Show Material in Viewport. At the moment, we're using this option here, which is Submaterial Rotoscoping. It's got Cycle turned on, but you can actually use the these options here. You basically have two main boxes here, which we'll look at in a second. You've got animated texture. This is for working with animated textures, bitmaps, age maps, particle motion blur maps, and these options here are more for working with straightforward material IDs, actually, controlling those values. So let's have a look at the animated texture options that you have here. As I said, these options should be generally used when you're working with animated bitmaps, particle age maps, and particle motion blur maps, as they afford greater control over their animation via manipulation of the age value for each particle. You've got a tick box here, which obviously if you click on any of these here, this will actually this activates this entire group here. As you can see, the option is same as particle ID, and when this is picked, your particles are assigned a material ID that matches their particle ID. This option should be used when your material uses an animated texture, such as an animated bitmap or a particle age map, and so forth. The reset particle age switch, when it's active, each particle has its age reset to 0 as it enters the event. And this ensures that a bitmap sequence is always animated from frame 0 for each particle. It also, of course, ensures that any particle age reliant animations also start from the beginning of their range also. The randomize age offset value will actually offset the age of each particle entering the event. And this is, of course, applied after the particles have their ages zeroed by the previous option, if and when it's active. So basically, these options will actually modify. If I go back up here to the animated bitmap, these options will actually modify the behavior of the animated bitmap. So we could say reset particle age, randomize age offset, set up what the maximum offset is, and if we do a render of that will actually set up a random offset on some of the particles. So what's happening is when some of these particles are being birthed, it's using a 21 frame offset on their animation, and by that point the lights are already quite bright, which is why some of these particles are sort of